Yat abini. Good morning, my relatives. This is Mark Charles. It is Wednesday, October 19th, and I'm sitting down with my second cup of coffee. It's a very good morning here in DC. It's incredible fall weather right now, and our temperatures are very mild. The mosquitoes are mostly gone. It's been clear. It's been the leaves are starting to turn color in our neighborhood. It's a very, very good fall day. I want to begin, as I always do whenever I speak. I want to start by acknowledging that I am back home on the lands of the Piscataway. And I want to honor the Piscataway as the hosts of the lands where I'm living. I want to thank them for their stewardship of these lands. And I just want to state how humbled I am that I'm living on these lands today. Um, I see that Tam is with us this morning at Ebena. Good morning, Tam. Um, Miles is here. Jochi, I think, is the name. Good morning. Buenos dias. It's good to see you as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. As you know, I was traveling last week. I was in the Pacific Northwest, out in Portland and in Seattle. I had 5 events in about 5 days there, and it was a pretty busy week, but it went really well. It was a really good time to be there. A couple of the highlights were I was very honored to speak at the Indigenous Peoples Day event in Portland, and had a chance to speak at that event and was able to talk about the Doctrine of Discovery, as well as acknowledge some things going on within Portland regarding the land back movement. And it was a very honoring time to be there. I also had an opportunity to preach at the church, Great Spirit, that a good friend of mine, Alan Buck, pastors, and I very much enjoyed that as well. And then had 2 speaking events. One was at a church, United Methodist Church there, and that went really well. And then another one was at the Honey Latte Cafe, which was one of my book tour events that I did. And both of those speaking events went really well. As always, the Q&As were some of the highlights. One of the things I liked about the Honey Latte Cafe event is there was a professor there from one of Warner Pacific University, I think, and he was a part of the criminal justice department and taught a class on criminal justice, and actually brought several of his students to the lecture or to that presentation as well. So this is the second time that this content has been engaged with by criminal justice departments, both now at Warren Pacific, but then also there was my event at San Diego State University during the book tour, where they're actually using our book as a textbook for their class, and I was invited to give a lecture there. So this of course really has me thinking, right, about what are the ways that even if we can just frame the dialogue of this book, and especially when I spoke with a professor at San Diego State, he said, yeah, if my students don't understand how U.S. law is based on some of these heresies coming out of Western Christianity, right, they're never going to know how to address it. And so he said, yeah, they have to understand what this stuff is rooted in so that they can see where the problems lie, so that we can begin to fix all of the plethora of problems within our criminal justice system. And so who knows, that could be another way that we could really work to try and get more departments, criminal justice departments around the country, engaged in discussion around the doctrine of discovery, and especially looking at how it impacts what we call the law here in the U.S. So those were all very good events. I was very grateful for that. And then I went up to Seattle and was able to spend 2 days in Seattle. And we arrived there on Wednesday, and then I had 2 events on Thursday. And on Thursday, I have a friend there. She is a professor at Seattle Pacific University, and she is a pastor at Quest Church. Her name is Brenda Salter McNeil. She's written a lot of books. She is passionate about reconciliation, passionate about issues of race and justice. And she has a class that she teaches there. and she gave me space to lecture to her class. We talked about the Doctrine of Discovery. We talked about how it has embedded itself into the foundations of the country. We talked about, I did a whole section about Abraham Lincoln, talked about how the church got from the teachings of Jesus to the Doctrine of Discovery, and then talked about Acts 10 because it was a theology class. And so talked about Acts 10 and how the church is not radically inclusive because it's following the wrong model of inclusivity, which raised a ton of questions for her class. We could have done Q&A for an hour there easy. But it was just so fun to sit and speak with these students who had already been engaged with the issue of race and the issue of injustice and all of the things that we talk about. But then to kind of present some of this framework from Acts 10, as well as the history from the Doctrine of Discovery, and to just be able to engage with the students. So that was one of the highlights. And then the event we did at Seattle Mennonite Church on Thursday evening. Incredibly grateful for that opportunity. Not a massively large event, maybe about 25 people, 30 people, I think, showed up. But again, the Q&A it was really good. This church and the Mennonite church in that area has already engaged a lot with the Doctrine of Discovery. Sarah Augustine has done a lot of work in that area. She is the author of the book, The Land is Not Empty, which is one of the books I talk about pretty frequently. And so she's done a lot of groundwork to really engage with people there and talk about things in that area. And so the audience at that was really engaged, and I very much appreciated their questions. One of the interesting things about being in Portland, and there's a lot of people who follow my work and have been engaging with me in the Pacific Northwest for quite a while. And I said I had 4 or 5 events, and there were a number of people who came to most of those events, including between Seattle and Portland. And I think it was just really encouraging to see people's passion and desire to engage with this content, and to really to hear it in the different ways I presented it to each of the 4 audiences I spoke to while I was there. I think the audience that was probably the most exposure for the work was probably the audience at the Indigenous Peoples Day event, where it was a fairly large event. There were several hundred people there throughout the afternoon. I spoke a little later in the evening. I was one of the plenary speaker for the event. But that event allowed me to expose a lot of people who had not heard some of this history, and had not heard the specifics of the stuff that I presented, especially. I was able to expose probably a few hundred people to some of this content, and that was thrilling. I really love that. I think it left people with a lot to think about. A lot of people came up afterwards and bought a copy of the book, and it was really good, right? And so one of the things I'm very grateful for is my schedule right now. Is I'm going into October and November. I'm in the middle of October now, but October and November every year are the busiest years of my calendar, where I have events not only every week, but sometimes multiple events a week. And I'm doing a lot of my events locally or virtually this year, so I'm not traveling quite as much. I was in the Pacific Northwest. I'm actually going to be driving to Pittsburgh tomorrow. And there is a church in Pittsburgh. Actually, it's where I'm going to be at tomorrow is with the Methodist Church as well. And it's the Western Pennsylvania Anti-Racism Summit, which is going to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it's kind of a conference for the churches in that area. And so I don't think it's a public conference that anyone can just go to, but I'll be speaking there in the opening session tomorrow afternoon. and then we'll stay there through Friday afternoon, just engaging with people and talking on a panel and being with some people on some events. So I'm going to be there tomorrow. Then I come back from Pittsburgh on Friday, and then Friday night I'll be home. And then on Saturday, I'm doing another book tour event here in the DC area. It's actually going to be in Baltimore. And I'm going to put the details for that into the calendar right here and are into the comment section. And then here's the image of what we'll be doing. So that's going to be at Immanuel United Church of Christ on Saturday, October 22nd. It starts at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And this is another one of my book tour events. So this is the kind of challenging the paradigm content I've been working on for the past several months. And this is open to the public. Anyone is welcome to come. If you're in the DC area, if you're in the Baltimore area, I welcome you to come to this event on Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. And it'll be about 2 hours, all told. And I'll be promoting this on my social media around the area too. But yeah, so if you know anyone in the area there, they also have a link online. And I'm going to share that link in the comment section right now, so you can see that link, and you'll be able to get that off of their website. Then I'm actually home next week. I don't have anything planned, which is again a little unusual, but it gives me some time to prep for some stuff coming up. On the week following that, I think the first week in November, I'm doing a staff not retreat, but a staff talk, a staff meeting with Highlight Magazine. And I'm really excited to be able to talk with them about the Doctrine of Discovery, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And then on November 10th, I will be in Northern Virginia Community College at the Loudoun campus. And this is an event that will be open to the public. It's at 11 a.m. to noon on Thursday, November 10th. I put in a link to the website there. So if you open up that link, you will see it's on their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion office that's hosting this. And they have section or events throughout the year called DEI Spotlight Events. And if you scroll down the page, you'll see some ones they've had. They're having one tomorrow, but then you'll see the one for myself is coming up on November 10th. And this is going to be talking about the Doctrine of Discovery. And so I'm excited. That's an event that's open to the public. So if you're in the Loudoun area near the Northern Virginia Community College campus there, you're welcome to attend that. It's going to be at the HEC Event Center. And then I just had a conversation about an event that I'm absolutely thrilled about. It's going to be coming up on November 15th. And it is going to be in Los Angeles, California at LA City College. They called me a couple of weeks ago, and we just had a meeting about the event tomorrow, or yesterday, I'm sorry. It's at the LA City College, and they have what they call, it's not a Thanksgiving Day celebration. This is almost in lieu of one because of some of the history around Thanksgiving. They started in 2019 with what they call their Day of Gratitude, where they serve a meal to a large portion of their campus. And then they invite the staff and faculty and other people from the city. And this is the first year after COVID of being back in a in-person setting. And then they have a presentation. And so they literally want me to talk about, because they're doing this in lieu of Thanksgiving, right? Because of some of the offensiveness that happened for the Native community around Thanksgiving. They're doing this as a separate event. They call it their Day of Gratitude. And they've invited me to come and speak about my Native perspective on Thanksgiving. And after this meeting with some of the faculty and administration yesterday, I was just so thrilled about this. The bummer thing is this is not a public event, because this is a meal that they serve specifically for their campus. It's not a public event. So I don't know if it's going to be live streamed, but I know it's just not something that you can get an open invitation to. If you are in the LA area and you're really interested in going, let me know, and we can see what might be able to be worked out. But unfortunately, it's not a public event that I can just give a blanket invitation to anyone who wants to be there for. But I am so excited about that event, and very much looking forward to having that conversation on campus there. That will be on November 15th, at the Los Angeles City College. So those are some of the things that are coming up that I'm going to be working on. And I just wanted to give people some sense of my schedule over these next few months. I have several more events that are also going to be happening, and I'll continue to highlight those throughout the next few days. But I wanted to jump on now just to make sure I didn't let the week go by without talking about something. I wanted to share my cup of coffee with you. And I want to let you know I am watching the news, and I am paying very close attention to what's going on in the news, and especially this discussion that is being had about the fear of escalating or elevating the war in Ukraine, and with the threats that Vladimir Putin has been making regarding his nuclear arsenal, and then the unfortunate response by the United States and other countries to Vladimir Putin's threats. I am gathering some thoughts around that. And I'm very aware of, I don't want to speak into this kind of flippantly. I want to talk about this at a very serious level. But I really think there's some things that we're missing about what's going on in Ukraine, and especially about the complete lack of integrity of the response that's coming from the Biden administration and our nation. I also have a few thoughts about, of course, we're coming up on the midterm elections, and there's a lot of rhetoric going on about the midterm elections and the craziness of some of those campaigns and the voting that's going to be happening. Of course, we have the January 6th committee that's continuing to talk about what happened that day. So I know there's a lot going on, and I've been kind of following a lot of these stories, and I'm hoping next week, when I'm home the entire week and I have some time to really put some thought into these things, that I'll be able to have some different second cups of coffee to talk about these different things and try to change the perspective a little bit, or shift our paradigms a little bit about how we're engaging in some of these dialogues that are taking place nationally. So yeah, those are some of the things I've been thinking about. Again, if people are interested, you can continue to follow what I'm doing and the work that I'm investing in. I'm continuing to try to promote the book, and if anyone is interested, they of course can purchase a signed copy of the book from my website, which is at wirelesshogan.com. And I'm going to be continuing to engage that dialogue and really push that. I just got a report about our sales over the past year. And so I'm looking at where our sales were and how the book's selling. And I still feel that there's a lot of life left in Unsettling Truths. And so I want to continue to do what I can to promote it and use it to engage dialogue. We're right now in the midst of, we just had Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day last week. We're coming up on Native American Heritage Month and Native American Heritage Day on November 25th. So there's a lot of chance to talk about these things. I'm hoping to have several guests on through the end of October and into November to talk about different things like that. So just kind of a preview of what's coming up. But yeah, let me see who's on here. Hey, Phil Yate. Thank you for joining. MT John, have you ever considered quitting caffeine? I will admit, John, that caffeine is one of my vices. It's one of the things that I drink regularly. I do try to limit my caffeine intake to the mornings. I don't usually drink coffee in the afternoons, and I don't have a lot of other things that I do. So at the moment, I'm not really trying to wean myself from caffeine. I try to make a focus of when I'm not drink when I after I drink coffee in the morning, I drink basically water the rest of the day. So I work to kind of maintain a healthy water intake. Um, and I don't put sugar in my coffee. I drink it with cream, but not with sugar. But yeah, it's one of the things that I really enjoy, and I plan to continue enjoying it. So I've tried decaf, and I'm just not interested in that. So I like I like my coffee, and I especially really enjoy it in the morning. And I found it's one of the things, right? No matter where I go, all the travel I've done around the globe, sitting down with people over a cup of coffee is almost universal. I most every place I travel to, when you bring a gift of coffee or you invite people to join you for coffee or tea, it's always common and expected, and it's well received. So yeah. So anyway, but thank you for your concern. I appreciate you bringing that up. What else do we have here? Let me look through some of the comments. Um, Someone from Calgary who is using our book in some conversations that they've been having. Thank you, Miles, for that encouragement. If you want to make it a Facebook event about DC. So Kelly, you're bringing up a good point. Let me highlight this comment right here. So Kelly said, if you want to make it a Facebook event, we can share it with the Baltimore DC friends. So the church I'm doing the event at this Saturday is going to have a Zoom link available, and where they will be able. They're not going to live stream it, but they will have it on Zoom. I don't think that it's going to be set up so it's going to be able to see the projector well. I'm not sure it's going to be a well. It might be a difficult thing to do over Zoom. I don't think we're gonna in anyway. But I am thinking about sometime later this fall, or winter, maybe in December when my schedule lightens up. Because I know there's a lot of people who have been following my book tour and have heard me talk about these events. I do actually want to do a specific online live stream of a book tour event that we can promote days, even weeks in advance, and try to get people from all around the country who may not have been able to attend this event, any of these events in person, a chance to do that virtually. And it would be a an event produced specifically for a live stream so that we could have the most engagement possible and have the best quality of video and the sharing of the screen possible, and even the purchase of books and everything else like that. So I am thinking about that, and I'm hoping to have that scheduled sometime before the end of the year, at the latest in early January. But it is something I do want to do, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think that will be a good thing to do, Kelly. So thank you for bringing that up. Anyway, I hope everyone has a really good day. I'm looking forward to my travel tomorrow. I'll probably do a live stream somewhere along the way, just let people know how my trip's going, and try to engage a little bit while I'm on the road. I'm very much looking forward to the conversation at this summit tomorrow in Pittsburgh, and then being at the event in Maryland, just outside of Baltimore, on Saturday. So, yeah, my relatives, I hope your cup of coffee is as good as mine is. Whoa, one last thing. You'll probably notice I haven't done a sunrise since I've been back from the Pacific Northwest. And the reason for that is the sun is now rising well after 7 o'clock. And so it's difficult to watch the sunrise. It's actually impossible to watch the sunrise and get home in time to bring my daughters to school. Um, So the only time I can do the sunrise until time changes is if I do it on the weekends. And so I hopefully it will be clear this weekend when I'll be able to do a sunrise on Saturday and or Sunday, but we'll look at how the weather's coming out. But for those of you who have been wondering why I haven't done as many sunrise live streams lately, it's really because of the timing, right? I started doing the sunrises here in DC during COVID. And so for the first year and a half, I was able to do it because my kids were online school, and so I didn't have a schedule where I had to get them to school early in the morning. But now with all school being back in session and everything being back in person, I don't have the time to do that live stream and get home to get them to school in time. So unfortunately, that will have to become a weekend event until time changes, which will be in a few weeks. I think it's the end of October that time changes, or maybe early November. I forget when exactly it is. Anyway, that's the status with that. So, my relatives, walk in beauty, and may we all learn how to walk in beauty together. Hagonat.